Hello, my dear students. I welcome you all to your Vedantu Accountancy class. Very good evening to all of you. Start joining and start telling me if you're all able to see me, hear me, or not. Very good evening to all of you. Start marking your attendance by liking the session. This is going to be a continuing session of issue of shares as we have already started with issue of shares in the previous part. So issue of shares will be continued in today's session, right? I think we finished till over subscription and under subscription topics. Further, we are going to continue calls in arrear, calls in advance, forfeiture, reissue, and then combination of all types of like questions that where all the concepts are combined. So what is in those concepts, right? So this is going to be our today's class base. So start marking your attendance by liking the session. Start telling me how are you all doing, what is up, what is going on. है ना जी. आज के सेशन में हम करने वाले हैं इशू ऑफ शेयर्स को कंटिन्यू. आप बताइए जी क्या हाल चाल है आप सभी लोगों की, कैसी चल रही है आप लोगों की पढ़ाई. एंड या व्हाट इज अप गोइंग विद यू ऑल. So those who are preparing for CUET, you all must have heard about the news that CUET, there are some changes which have been made in CUET this year. Hello Durga, how are you? There are some particular changes made in CUET this year that the number of subjects will decrease, right? So yeah, if you all have heard about this, then great. If you haven't, then tomorrow we will be coming live on around 5 p.m. to discuss about that. I hope you all must have seen the notice and all. You all must have heard about the news that there will be some changes in CUET 2025. So that is the news upgoing. Yep. Apart from that, basically, you all, I think you all need to focus on your pre-boards now. You all need to focus on your pre-boards, right? For commerce students, I'm telling you all very seriously that if you are a commerce student, if you are still focusing on your boards, you are preparing for CUET, right? If you are focusing on your accountancy, business studies, economics, you are one or the other way, you are directly, indirectly, you are preparing for CUET only, right? Because these subjects, these three subjects are going to be there in whatever field you are planning to go, right? Or in whatever course you're opting, if you're planning to do BCom honors, if you're planning to do BCom, right? So in CUET, if you are planning to get BCom or BCom honors, or even if you are planning to get BMS, you will still need your core subjects, right? You will need additional subjects, of course. You will need general test then, right? But for BCom honors, you are going to need your subjects. Yeah, your subjects are your common subjects. So if you are preparing well for your boards, if you are preparing well for your these three subjects, you are preparing for CUET as well. As well, you will get time to prepare general test in English if you haven't studied till now, right? So now I think you all should focus on your pre-boards. You should focus on your vivas. You all must be you all will not get time to prepare for anything right now, right? Because you all will get your practicals now, you all will get your projects and pre-boards and all. So you all are going to be packed, so you don't have any option to prepare for boards. You don't have any option to prepare for boards, or uske alawa you don't have any option to do anything, right? So you have to do, or you have to work for your boards only right now. So basically, if you are planning, telling you all truly again, if you all are planning to get BCom honors, BMS, BBA, Delhi University, or any other university, if you all are planning in CUET, you are going to need your core subjects. You are going to need your core subjects. So preparing your core subjects well is not leading you to the wrong direction. It is still leading you to the correct direction only, right? So अभी इस चीज में कंफ्यूज होना, इस चीज में कंफ्यूजन में रहना कि क्या पढ़ना चाहिए मुझे, CUET या बोर्ड्स पढ़ना चाहिए, what should I study? So I'm giving you the answer, clear answer for that, that right now you all should focus on your boards, because you are going to be packed with your boards, right? Because you are going to get your vivas, and you are going to get your practicals, your project files, then your pre-boards, pre-board 1, pre-board 2. So school itself and all the things are going to force you to study for your boards only, right? So don't be tense about first that what about CUET and all. Then it is going to take time. After both, you will get time to prepare GT and English, right? If you are preparing for your three core subjects perfectly right now, you won't be spending time on these subjects then, right? So it's better you prepare well for these subjects right now. And this is going to lead you to a very beautiful direction, which is going to give you good marks in boards as well as in CUET. है ना? So this is what is going on. right now. So yeah, let's begin with our work that we are going to cover issue of shares today, accounting for share capital, the topic which we were already doing, right? Half of the part we have already finished. I hope you all remember that we understood about the types of capital, we understood about the types of shares, we understood about the types of preference shares, all these things we have already covered, right? We understood about the share capital, that what is share capital, right? We understood about the types of share capital. Also, we understood about issue of shares, right? How issue of shares is done. If you all haven't seen the previous video, you all can go in the playlist and you can watch that part one first. Issue of shares, right? Issue of shares you have to finish. We have issue of shares, so we understood that yeah, how to pass issue of shares, entry, bank to share application to share capital, then bank to share allotment to share capital, then bank to share allotment, then your first call becomes due share first call to share capital, then you get the payment of share first call, bank to share first call. All these issue of shares transactions we studied, that issue of shares can be done at par as well as it can be done at premium. Par means if the face value is this 10 and if we are selling it at 10. Premium means if the value is 10 and we are selling it for more, whether it be 11, 12, 13, 14, 50. But if you are selling it for more, that is issue of shares at premium. And premium is shown, it can be shown with any of the installment, but if it is not specified with which installment you have to post it, you post it with allotment, right? So we did share capital, we types of share capital, we understood issue of shares. Then we came to the most important topic, over subscription. Before that, we also covered, right? Before that, we also covered issue of shares for consideration other than cash. That is also important, right? That is also important. Issue of shares for consideration other than cash. उसके बाद हमने किया over subscription and under subscription. Oversubscription, if you all remember, we understood that there are three treatments to solve the situation of oversubscription. What was the meaning of oversubscription? That there are number of shares. If a company is offering some number of shares and people are applying for more, right? If people are applying for more, that is oversubscription, right? That is oversubscription. Undersubscription means if people are applying for some particular shares and company has offered some number of shares and people are applying for less, that is under subscription, right? So over subscription and under subscription are the two situations we discussed. Under subscription was directly easy, that if you are getting lesser, then pass the entries with the lesser directly. But over subscription we have three solutions, that either we are going to refund, right? Either we are going to refund means reject the oversubscribed shares, or we are going to do pro rata, or we are going to do pro rata, or we are going to do combination, right? Or we can do combination of all three. Refund plus pro rata, and either we can refund the share, है ना, rejection, है ना, या तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं, रिजेक्ट कर सकते हैं, या हम कर सकते हैं प्रो राटा, या हम क्या कर सकते हैं, कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ both situations or both solutions, right? So this is what is done at the time of oversubscription. Then when we lastly understood about the difference, I think, yeah, I will last thing which we did was over subscription and under subscription difference. Now, if you come further, we have over subscription and calls in arrear. Now, the topic is calls in arrear. What is calls in arrear? That calls in arrear means, just a second. Okay. Yeah. Firstly, let's understand what is calls in arrear and calls in advance. Calls in arrear means that there is an amount which you have called up, right? The company has called up, but the shareholders, they haven't paid it, right? That basically कि आपने क्या किया, आपने अपने शेयर होल्डर्स से पैसा मंगाया कि शेयर होल्डर्स आपका मनी जो है ड्यू हो गया है, कम एंड पे दिस. But if they haven't paid it till now, है ना, if they haven't paid it till now, that is calls in arrear. Calls in arrear is the amount called up by company but not paid by the shareholder. तो कॉल्स इन अरियर वो अमाउंट है जो आपने कॉल किया, है ना, आपने कॉल किया, कंपनी ने कॉल किया, बट शेयर होल्डर्स ने पे नहीं किया. दैट मींस देयर समथिंग व्हिच द शेयर होल्डर्स हैवंट पेड, सो दैट इज अरियर, राइट? अरियर मींस अनपेड. So, interest is charged on calls in arrears. As per table F, the interest rate is 10%. This is just for MCQ. You don't need to do the questions of interest. Articles of association does not have any clause to this effect as non-payment is beyond company's control. Right? So, क्या होगा बेटा, अगर आपने किसी से, कंपनी ने किसी से शेयर्स मंगाया, वो शेयर होल्डर पेमेंट ही नहीं कर रहा है, आप ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या ही कर सकते हो इसमें. करेक्ट है जी. अब इसको कहाँ पर दिखाते हैं कॉल्स इन अरियर को? कॉल्स इन अरियर आर डिडक्टेड फ्रॉम सब्सक्राइब्ड कैपिटल in the notes to accounts on share capital. Very important for MCQ, right? What is calls in advance? Calls in advance means amount not called up by the company but paid by the shareholders. Calls in advance means that sometimes the shareholders they may pay in advance, है ना. Sometimes shareholders के पास ज्यादा पैसा होता है, तो वो क्या करते हैं कि सारी की सारी पेमेंट एक ही किश्त के साथ कर दी, कि पहली किश्त हुई, पहली किश्त के साथ ही सारी पेमेंट कर दी, तो वो कॉल्स इन एडवांस है. when you have received the money in advance before time you have got the money from any particular shareholder, that is calls in advance, है ना. Interest is allowed here, which is called which is of 12%. This rate you should know, otherwise you don't need to solve the questions of interest, राइट. सो कंपनी में एक्सेप्ट, कंपनी को तो पैसा ज्यादा आ रहा है तो कंपनी तो उसको एक्सेप्ट कर ही लेगी. कहां पर दिखाते हो कॉल्स इन एडवांस को? यू आर गोइंग टू शो इट इन करंट लायबिलिटीज, right? You're going to show it in current liabilities under the main head current liability. So it is shown in balance sheet current liabilities under the main head current liability. So it is a liability beta. If you are getting money in advance and you haven't given your product, you haven't delivered your product, or if you haven't given your services, that is your liability na. दैट इज ऑफकोर्स योर लायबिलिटी. अगर आपको कोई पैसा आ गया, आपने उसका प्रोडक्ट अभी डिलीवर नहीं किया है, तो फिर वो आपके सिर पे एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हो जाती है कि हाँ इसकी इससे पेमेंट आ चुकी है, इसकी सर्विसेज देनी बाकी है, इसका प्रोडक्ट देना बाकी है. दैट इज व्हाट लायबिलिटी, दैट इज व्हाट लायबिलिटी. yes or no? So that is what is the difference between calls in arrears and calls in advance. Right, so let's come back to the topic which we were starting, which we were about to start, that how to solve the question, right? How to solve the question which has got oversubscription and calls in arrears. So calls in arrears, of course, calls in arrear. What is the nature of calls in arrear? Calls in arrear, आपने क्या हुआ कि आपने कोई पेमेंट, किसी शेयर होल्डर ने कोई पेमेंट करनी थी, वो उसने पेमेंट नहीं करी, तो ये लॉस हो गया, एक्सपेंस हो गया, तो ये डेबिट होता है, राइट. कॉल्स इन अरियर्स आर डेबिटेड, कॉल्स इन एडवांसेस क्रेडिटेड. Okay, calls and advances credited. Acha. Next, pro rata allotment may be made in case of oversubscription to all or some of the applicants. It means the applicants to whom pro rata allotment is made have paid the excess application money. The excess application money may be adjusted towards allotment money, which comprises share capital and SPR. If shares are issued at premium, adjustment is made through first towards share capital and thereafter through SPR. Right? So the balance may be carried forward and adjusted against calls if the question specifies. So what they are saying that basically if you are getting something in advance on allotment, that you can adjust further, and there could be some shareholders in between. They may have paid extra on application, है ना. ऐसे शेयर होल्डर हो सकते हैं जिन्होंने एप्लीकेशन पे एक्स्ट्रा पैसा दिया हो, अलॉटमेंट पे आपने उनसे मांगा तो उन्होंने पे करने से मना कर दिया, बट स्टिल उनका पूरा ड्यू नहीं होगा. उनका ड्यू उतना होगा जितना उनका बचा था. बचा कितना था मैम? अभी क्वेश्चन से समझ आएगा. So for example, Gamma company issued 5,000 equity shares for 10 each, premium rupees 2. 3 on application, 4 on allotment, 2 on first call, 3 on final call. Applications were received for 6,500 equity shares. Application for 4,000 equity shares were accepted in full. 1,000 equity shares were allotted to applicants of 2,000 equity shares, and applications for 500 equity shares were rejected. 500 were rejected. 4,000 were accepted in full. Right, 1,000 equity shares were allotted to 2,000. अच्छा, हाँ, 2,000 वालों को हमने 1,000 इशू कर दिया. ठीक है जी. Total is 6,000 and total 6,500 is what is applied, and total allotted is only 5,000. Total allotted is only 5,000. Right. So application allotment, and then what happened? The amount were duly received except for the first call on 100 equity shares and final call on 150 equity shares. So they have received the total money, right? सारा पैसा आ गया, but final call का पैसा नहीं आया. First call का और final call का पैसा first call पे और final call पे इतने इतने equity shares ने payment नहीं करी. चलो जी. So first we are going to pass the entry for bank to share application, of course, कि what total money we have received, right? Cash book भी बनाना है साथ में. ओहो, cash book बनाना है तो cash book जब बनानी पड़ती है ना बेटा. So with cash book, whenever cash book is maintained, bank transactions are not done, right? All bank transactions are posted in cash book. Other journal entries are posted. Okay. So now let's try it out. Let's try it out. That first transaction is bank to share application. So bank transactions we are not doing. We are going to post it in cash book, that money received. How much money we have received? Money is always received on applied. So we have received 6,500 into 3, 19,500 we have received. Right? 19,500 we have received. But इसका prorata का calculation करना पड़ेगा. That 2,000 for 1,000. What was the actual need? Okay. That on 2,000. That on 2000 we have received on 3 we have received 6,000, right? But we wanted only 3,000 ना. हमें required कितना था? Required कितना था? 2,000 और हमें मिल गया. Required था 3,000, हमें मिल गया 6,000. So 3,000 is the excess. 3,000 is the excess. Yes. Okay, 3,000 is the access. Now, how much is required on allotment? On allotment, we need 4,000. So, this 3,000 we are going to adjust here. Now, what is calls in arrear? Calls in arrear still remains 1,000 on allotment. Okay, so this is the adjustment, right? Chalo. Then, how are we going to post it? Now, you're going to clarify that where have you used this 19,500. In the journal entry, you're going to mention that share application to share capital, right? That we only needed 15,000. Remaining we have adjusted on allotment. This can be a combined entry also. That you can pass it share application debit, right? Share application debit 19,500, but it cannot be combined entry because थोड़ा सा 1,500 या combined entry हो सकती है. 500 shares you are rejecting, so 503 is rejected here. So share application to share capital to your share allotment that we have received 18,000. 1,500 we have rejected, so that is in bank account because that money is going out of bank. In share capital we needed only 5,000 into 3, right? We needed only 15,000. 3,000 we have adjusted on allotment. Next step, your allotment will become due, right? Your allotment will become due on again 5,000 shares. So 5,000 into 4 becomes due. That 5,000 into 4 becomes due. Share allotment to share capital to SPR. Now, how much will you get in your bank account? In your bank account, you are going to get less by 3,000 because with that you have received already. So, 17,000 you are going to get in your bank account. Next, now your first call will become due. First call becomes due. Share first call to share capital 5,000 into 2, 10,000 becomes due. Now you have some calls in arrear. Where is calls in arrear, beta? Here it is. That 100 equity shares they didn't pay the money, so they haven't paid 100 equity shares, they haven't paid 200 rupees. So how much is coming in your bank account? Your bank account is getting 9,800 that you mention in cash book. Next, now your second call will become due. That the second call is due and there is some arrear also. How arrear? 150 into 3, right? 150 into 3. For this also you can pass the combined entry. Sure, first call debit, calls in arrear debit to share first call. No, this for this you can't pass the combined entry because calls in arrear comes with bank, right? So yeah, you can't pass the combined entry for this. Okay, so calls in arrear to share second call, that how much we haven't received, 150 into 3 we haven't received, that is our calls in arrear, right? So now you are going to take the total and you are going to find the balancing figures. That is how a full-fledged question with cash book is done. How do we show it in balance sheet? Let's understand that. That equity authorized capital you are going to mention if it is not given, very good. Issued we have done 5,000 equity shares, 50,000 we have issued, right? Subscribed and fully paid up. How much was fully subscribed and paid up? 4,850. Right, 4,850 was fully paid up. So 4,850 you are going to mention. Then how much was not fully paid up? 150 into 10. And how much was calls in arrear? 100 into 2 and 150 into 3. So that you are going to mention here. This balance sheet format also I'll tell you later, right? We'll come to the balance sheet format. Okay. So next is calls in advance. Next is calls in advance, that if you have received the money in advance, if AOA of company allows a company may accept amount against the call or call not yet made, the amounts were received in advance is credited to calls in advance account, right? So it may happen in the case of partial or pro rata of shares when the company retains access received on application shares in access to allotment. So basically, this is also in this happens in pro rata also, that application पे you have received the money, so you are going to count it as calls in advance. है ना, क्योंकि एप्लीकेशन पे अगर एक्स्ट्रा पैसा आ गया तो आप उसको कॉल्स इन एडवांस ही बोल दो कि हाँ एडवांस आ गया, अब हम अलॉटमेंट पे कम ले लेंगे. ये देखो जी, बैलेंस शीट में किस तरीके से दिखाया जाता है कॉल्स इन एडवांस. यू हैव टू मेंशन, you have to deduct it from, you have to show it in balance sheet current liabilities. Calls in arrears are deducted, right? Calls in arrears are deducted from subscribed capital. Calls in advance other heading में जाता है current liability, right? What is the journal entry for calls in advance? Bank to calls in advance, because you have got the your liability has increased, and also for now you have got the income. When it comes, when the time comes, you are going to reverse it. So bank where you have got the money, so bank is debited. That's why calls in advance is your liability. Your liability increases, so it's credited, right? Interest on calls in advance, you just need to know the rate. Let's see what is in this question. That TKC Limited have this much equity shares, capital is this much, and equity shares of 4 lakh were issued. Okay, the company due on allotment was received. Amount due on allotment was received on first call being made. One shareholder holding 12,000 paid the first and second and final call along with the first call. Right, 20 did not pay. Okay. Right, 20,000 equity shares did not pay the first call. Okay, so in this question, you have calls in arrear and calls in advance both. Calls in arrear and calls in advance both you have in this. Right, so read this question better, that you can see that 4 lakh equity shares हमने issue किए हैं. 3 on application. 3 on application. एप्लीकेशन है 3 रुपीज का, अलॉटमेंट है 2 रुपीज का, फर्स्ट कॉल है 3 एंड सेकेंड कॉल भी है 2, sorry. Right, amount due on allotment was received on first call being made. One shareholder holding 12,000 equity shares. One shareholder जिसके पास 12,000 equity shares हैं, है ना, paid second and final call along with first call. So application money उसने दिया, he has paid allotment money, he has paid first and final call money plus 2 of second call also he has paid with the first call only. Then there are with the first call, while 5 shareholders, है ना, 5 shareholders जिनके पास 20,000 equity shares थे, they have did not pay, they have paid application allotment, they did not pay the first call money. Right, so this is how company has not demanded the second and final call. Second and final call abhi hui hi nahi hai, so you have to pass the transactions till the first call. Normally, firstly, you are going to pass the entry of application, bank to share application, 4 lakh into 3, right? 12 lakh, 12 lakh. Then you are going to get the money of application, 4 lakh, 12 lakh, 12 lakh. Then allotment will be due. Allotment is of 2. Allotment is of 2. So 4 lakh into 2, 8 lakh, 8 lakh. Then you are going to get the money of allotment. Now the twist comes that on first call, one shareholder has not paid the money and one shareholder has paid in advance. है ना? So there is a cause in arrear as well as there is cause in advance. So how much is the arrear in advance? Let's see that advance. If we talk about advance, right? फिर 12,000 वाला जो इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर है उसने आगे का पैसा दे दिया. That means उसने 24,000 एक्स्ट्रा पे कर दिया. Advance is 24,000. How much is arrear? Arrear is 20,000 shareholders did not pay. Right? So they haven't paid. 60,000 is arrear. Right? 60,000 is arrear. Let's post it. That in the bank account, that we will know later, right? To equity share first call we needed 1,20,000 है ना, हमें चाहिए कितना था 1,20,000 है ना, 1,20,000 हमें चाहिए था, but there is calls in advance. How much is in advance? We have got 12,000 into 2 in advance, so 24,000 we have got in advance. How much is in arrear? 30,000 into 20,000 into 6. Oh, sorry, 20,000 into 3 is in arrears 60. So 1 lakh 20 pay, 24,000 we have got extra minus 60. That is what we have got in the bank account 1164. Yeah, this is how you're going to post. Where will you show calls in arrears? You're going to mention it under current liabilities. Okay, you're going to mention it under current liabilities. But in your exam, you're going to get balance sheet of share capital portion only. है ना? Share capital, authorized capital directly in the question, issued capital directly in the question. Subscribe but not fully paid up, you will mention that 4 lakh equity shares pay 10 each, 8 called up is what we have fully called up and for subscribed and not fully paid up. But there is also calls in arrear in that, which is 60,000. So this is how this question is to be done. So it's easy and interesting. Next is if the question says to maintain cash book, we did a question already of that, that cash book is a special journal which is used to record cash transaction. When shares are issued for cash, cash book may have to be prepared. Thus, cash transactions are recorded in cash book, non-cash transactions are recorded in journal. So what happens, beta, if the question says you, if the question tells you to prepare cash book, right? If the question tells you to prepare cash book, then कैश बुक जब आप बनाओगे तो कैश ट्रांजेक्शन्स कैश बुक में रिकॉर्ड नहीं होंगी और सॉरी कैश ट्रांजेक्शन्स जर्नल में रिकॉर्ड नहीं होंगी यू आर गोइंग टू मेक सेपरेट कैश बुक फॉर दैट राइट और जर्नल में आप अपनी जर्नल एंट्रीज पोस्ट करोगे कैश बुक इज गोइंग टू पोस्ट द कैश ट्रांजेक्शन्स एंड जर्नल इज गोइंग टू पोस्ट द जर्नल एंट्रीज right so I have example of cash book question. Let's try it out. At HB Limited offered public 10,000 equity shares, 5,000 preference shares. Subscription was made for 12,000 equity and 4,500. So this is over and under. Both cases are here. That when company offered 10,000 and public applied for 12,000, that is over. And when company offered 5,000 and company public applied for less, that is under. So both cases we have gotten this. Right? So out of applications of equity shares, 100,000 shares were rejected. The 1,000 shares were rejected. 8,500 were accepted in full. Right? 8,500 were accepted in full. 1,500 were allotted the remaining. Yes, 1,500 were allotted the remaining. So 1,500 जो हमारे थे है ना टोटल हमने 10,000 इक्विटी शेयर इशू करे हैं टोटल 12,000 की डिमांड आ गई है ना टोटल 12,000 की डिमांड आ गई 1,500 को तो पूरे 1,500 ही मिलेंगे फिर राइट So applications for preference shares were accepted in full. Amount due were received except 100 on equity shares and 50 on preference shares. लो जी. So cash book में अब क्या करना है ये question as a homework you all should try because in this you have to maintain cash book separately and journal entries you have to pass separately. All the cash transactions will be done in cash book, not in journal entries. Okay जी. Now, calls in arrear account, beta, there is one important thing of calls in arrear account that calls in arrear account it can be opened or cannot be opened, right? It is mentioned in the question whether to open it, whether not to open it. So, if you are not opening it, you can directly post the amount. If you are opening it, you can mention the arrear amount there, right? So, what is the journal entry if you are not opening it? Directly, you are going to mention the amount which you are getting in your bank account, है ना? कि first call पे बनता इतना था, आया इतना. अगर आप ओपन कर रहे हो तो आप यहाँ पर लिख के दिखा दो कि इतना आया और बनता इतना था आया इतना क्या नहीं आया that was cause in arrear what we haven't received that is cause in arrear right so format of balance sheet again this is going to be the format of balance sheet you're going to mention authorized capital issued capital subscribed capital in subscribed you're going to mention the capital which is subscribed and fully called right subscribed and it should be called also. So if it is fully called and fully subscribed, then you are going to mention here. Otherwise, if the subscribed, it is not subscribed or it is not fully called or it is not fully paid, then you are going to mention it under subscribed but not fully paid up. Calls in arrears if there are any deducted. Shares forfeiture if there are any added. Right? Okay. Ji. So Sujata Limited formed with capital of 10 lakh divided into equity shares 10 each. It offered 90% shares for subscription, 40% payable on application, 25 on allotment and balance on final call. ठीक है जी, करेक्ट बात है. अब applicants pay rupees 3,60,000 on application and 169 on allotment. फाइनल कॉल नॉट मेड येट. ऑथोराइज कैपिटल बताओ. ऑथोराइज कैपिटल तो सबसे ऊपर ही दी हुई है, साफ साफ 10 लाख है. ठीक है जी. उसके बाद क्या कह रहे हैं, कॉल्ड अप कितनी है, आपने कॉल कितनी की. द एप्लीकेंट्स फाइनल कॉल हैज नॉट बीन मेड येट. तो फाइनल कॉल अभी तक नहीं करी, तो जिसका मतलब 90% पैसा मंगाया है ना. तो अच्छा इशूड है, सॉरी इशूड कितना, वो 90% है, सॉरी 90% है, तो 90% भी यहाँ पे इशू कर दो. Then next is subscribe capital. So 40% application. The applicants paid for 3,60,000 on application. है ना, 3,60,000 आपके पास एप्लीकेशन पे आया है, तो इसका मतलब सब्सक्राइब कितनी थी, 9 लाख. सब्सक्राइब कितनी थी, द एप्लीकेंट्स पेड ऑन एप्लीकेशन. एप्लीकेशन पे 40%, ये कितना बनता है 40%, ₹4, राइट, ₹4. सो या 360 इसका मतलब पूरा का पूरा ही आपने अभी इशू कर दिया था, 9 लाख, तभी 360 रुपीज आए हैं. ठीक है जी. इसमें पेड अप कितना है, पेड अप आपका हो गया 529. 360 प्लस 169 से पता चल गया. कॉल्स इन अरियर कितना रह गया, आप जितना आया है और जितना आना चाहिए था उसका डिफरेंस ले लो कॉल्स इन अरियर. करेक्ट है जी. Over subscription and calls in arrear. Again, we have tried this out. Okay, so this question we are going to do in your that ये होम भी हम कर चुके हैं, ये सारी स्लाइड्स दोबारा आ रही है. एक बार इन क्वेश्चंस को दोबारा करके देखना, then you are going to get it better. This is a category question. How to solve a category question, right? How to solve a category question, that is one thing which we all should know. Petromax Limited issued 50,000 equity shares, right? अच्छा, in category kind of questions, बेटा, what we have to do, separately सबका access calculate करना पड़ता है, right? All kinds of categories you have to keep separately, and in the particular categories you have to find out the values. You have to find out the values. You have to find out the values separately of the arrear. है ना, कैसे 40,000 और 30,000 का आपको अलग से पता करना पड़ेगा कि कितना एक्सेस हमने एडजस्ट किया. कैसे, जैसे 40,000 into 3 on application, 1,20,000 is what we have received. What we wanted, 30,000 into 3, 90 is what we wanted. What we have got extra, 30 is what we have got access, right? 30,000 into 3, 30,000 into 5, right? 1,50,000 is what we have gotten allotment. How much we are adjusting? 30,000 we are adjusting. So now how much is due on allotment? 1,20,000 is due on allotment. Similarly, you are going to calculate for 4,40,000 and 20,000. तब आपको पता चलेगा कि कितना एक्सेस है, कितना नहीं है, right? Then you have 2 on application, 5 on allotment, right? और इसके साथ प्रीमियम भी है 2 plus 3, right? So 2 plus 3 premium is for 2. 3 plus 2 it is, then 3 plus 2. Then shares of 10 each at a premium of 2. 3 on application, or 2 on the further calls. Suresh, who applied for 2,000 equity shares, did not pay any money other than application money. तो एक शेयर होल्डर है सुरेश जिसने कुछ भी पे नहीं किया है, सिर्फ एप्लीकेशन पे किया है. देन चंदेर है who was allotted paid the call money along with allotment. सो यहाँ पे कॉल मनी के साथ ही उसने सारा का सारा अलॉटमेंट के साथ ही सारा का सारा कॉल मनी दे दिया. तो एडजस्टमेंट्स तो आपको सेकंड एंट्री थर्ड एंट्री से ही करनी पड़ेगी. तो फर्स्ट एंट्री इज गोइंग टू बी बैंक टू शेयर एप्लीकेशन की 92 पे हमें पैसा आ गया. ठीक है, जिसमें से हमें चाहिए था सिर्फ 1.5 लाख 50,000 के हिसाब से, रिजेक्ट कर दिया हमने, बाकी का सारा अलॉटमेंट पे एडजस्ट हो गया. बढ़िया बात है. फिर एक दिन अलॉटमेंट ड्यू हुई, है ना, अलॉटमेंट ड्यू हुई 50,000 पे, और अलॉटमेंट पे जब हम आए तो हमने देखा कि अलॉटमेंट पे तो एडवांस भी आया है और एक शेयर होल्डर ने पैसा भी नहीं पे किया. बड़ा दुख हुआ. तो हम उसको कॉल्स इन अरियर दिखाएंगे कि जिसने पे नहीं किया. किसने पे नहीं किया जी, कॉल्स इन अरियर. एक शेयर होल्डर था जिसके 2,000 शेयर थे और वो बैठा था कैटेगरी ए में. तो कैटेगरी ए के हिसाब से आपको ये भी निकालना पड़ेगा कि उसके अप्लाइड कितने थे. तो आपको पता चलेगा कि भाई उसका अरियर 6,000 है. एडवांस 3200 है तो बैंक अकाउंट में 157,200 आएगा। फिर फर्स्ट कॉल ड्यू होगी एक दिन, फिर फर्स्ट कॉल ड्यू होने पे आपको पता चलेगा कि अरे अब यहाँ पे भी थोड़ा सा पैसा जो है एडवांस आ गया, और जो इसका पहले इसने अरियर दिया था वो रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा। ठीक है जी। फिर उसके बाद फाइनल कॉल ड्यू होगी, फिर जो ऑलरेडी जा चुका है पहले एडवांस वो यहाँ पे कैंसिल होगा ना, रिवर्स होगा। जो एडवांस यहाँ पे आप दिखा चुके थे वो अब रिवर्स भी होगा। करेक्ट है जी। और जो अरियर है वो भी आप यहाँ पर दिखाओगे। ठीक है जी। नेक्स्ट आ जाता है मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट टॉपिक विच इज फोरफिचर ऑफ शेयर्स। फोरफिचर ऑफ शेयर्स मींस कैंसिलेशन ऑफ शेयर्स। कैंसिलेशन ऑफ शेयर्स, that means that we are going to cancel the shares of any particular shareholder. When company cancel the share due to non-payment of costs due, it is known as forfeiture of shares, right? सो कंपनी जब कैंसिल करती है किसी उसके शेयर्स, है ना, कंपनी अगर किसी के कैंसिल करती है शेयर्स तो उसे फोरफिचर ऑफ शेयर्स बोला जाता है। कब? अगर वो पेमेंट नहीं कर रहा हो, है ना, कोई शेयर होल्डर पेमेंट नहीं कर रहा तो उसके शेयर्स कैंसिल किए जा सकते हैं। हाउएवर शेयर्स कैन बी फोरफिटेड ओनली इन आर्टिकल ऑफ एसोसिएशन ऑफ द कंपनी, राइट। सो शेयर्स फोरफिट तभी हो सकते हैं जब एओ ने अलाउ किया हो। कंपनी में फॉरफिट द शेयर्स हेल्ड बाय शेयर होल्डर ऑन विच amount of call is not paid after giving notice to the defaulting shareholder, or on forfeiture the shares are cancelled and to the extent of share capital it is reduced, है। तो जितने भी shares whatever number of shares we are forfeiting, share capital is going to reduce by those number of shares, because that forfeiture means these shares are no more, shares are dead, right? These shares are not going to exist in share capital. So if you forfeit any shares you have to reduce that particular amount for from share capital also, right? So where are forfeited shares shown? Forfeited shares are already deducted first, but the money which you receive on share forfeited, right, that you add. That shares money you are going to add in share capital, but you are going to deduct the number of shares from share capital because the shares are dead. Forfeiture can be done at par or at premium. That yeah, आप किसी के शेयर्स कैंसिल कर रहे हो, आप पार पे भी कैंसिल कर सकते हो, प्रीमियम पे भी कैंसिल कर सकते हो। इफ यू आर कैंसिलिंग एट पार, what will be the entry? Share capital to share forfeiture to share allotment to share call. Share capital debit to share forfeiture to share allotment to share call. That means in share capital you are going to pass. This is the entry for share forfeiture कि हमने shares जो है forfeit कर दिए, है ना, हमने shares जो है forfeit कर दिए। So what is the entry for that? The entry for that is basically when you transfer any money to share capital, है ना, जब आप कोई share capital में money transfer करते हो, share allotment to share capital is the entry. Now when you cancel it you have to reverse the entry. That is what is happening here. That share capital to share allotment to share call is cancelled, right? And to forfeited share means whatever money we have received till now, है ना, क्योंकि एप्लीकेशन मनी तो आ ही गया होगा। अगर अभी हम कैंसिल कर रहे हैं तो उसमें ये तो पता चले कि कितना पैसा आया। तो शेयर कैपिटल में यू आर गोइंग टू मेंशन नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स इनटू कॉल्ड अप मनी। In forfeited shares, you are going to mention what money you have received. In allotment, if there is any amount which is not received on allotment, you will mention that. If there is any amount which is not received on call, that you are going to mention here, right? Forfeiture of share also can be done at premium, right? Forfeiture of share can be done at premium. Now, in premium, you can face two kinds of situations: that premium has been received or premium has not been received. So, if premium is received, you are not going to tell anybody that there was any kind of premium. You are not going to post the premium in the entry. You are just going to pass the normal entry, share capital to share allotment to share call to share forfeited. If the premium is unpaid, then you are going to announce in the debit side also, and you will include the premium in allotment also. But if it is paid, you are not going to tell anyone. If SPR is unpaid, you are going to tell everyone. So if SPR is paid, you are not going to post it in forfeiture entry. If it is unpaid, you are going to post it in forfeiture entry. Okay, got it. Now let's take the example that what is the journal entry of forfeiture, right? So his shares were forfeited. In this we have 14,000 equity shares, 8,000 were given 80, 8,000 were given 80, 80 were given 80 hoga, and 50 applications were given 20 and 1,000 were not allotted any share. So अभी तो हमें forfeiture देखना है। forfeiture खैर इतना ही होता है बेटा, that equity share capital to equity share allotment to equity shares forfeited, right? That means कि if what have you called up? Called up means कितना हमने मंगाया। Share did not pay the allotment money. So we haven't made the final call yet. We have only called application and allotment. So we have only invited money on first application and allotment. Then he did not pay the allotment money. So 100 into 4 is not paid. Whatever he has paid, you're going to mention that in forfeited shares. Yes. Next. Next is forfeited shares can also be reissued. Right? Forfeited shares can also be reissued after some time. Reissued means that the forfeited shares, the shares which you have cancelled, you are selling it to somebody else. Right? The shares which you have cancelled, you are selling it to somebody else. So you are making the dead shares alive again. What is the entry of reissue? Reissue entry is bank to share capital if you are issuing at par. Reissue can be done at par, at premium, at discount. Right? So reissue can be, issue can only be done at par and premium. But reissue can be done at par, at premium, at discount. So reissue entry is bank to share capital, right? If you are issuing at par, if you issue at discount, the entry is bank debit, share forfeited debit to share capital. If you issue at premium, entry is bank debit to share capital to SPR. Now, what is the base of discount? Ma'am, अगर issue of shares की बात करें, we are not allowed to give discount. So, what is the base of this discount? The base of this discount is whatever money we have received extra on forfeiture, right? Whatever money we have received extra on forfeiture, that we can use for discount. That we can use for discount. That's why we call it shares forfeited. Yeah, that's why we call it shares forfeited, because the money which we get extra on forfeiture, that also we mentioned by shares forfeited. Out of that, we can use the money for discount. If the money remains, it is transferred to capital reserve. Right? Maximum discount which is allowed is the money which we have received on forfeiture. Right? Maximum, that is the discount. Right? Whatever money remains after giving the discount is transferred to capital reserve. All right? Capital reserve. How to find the amount of capital reserve? Take the difference of share forfeiture of forfeiture and share forfeiture of reissue. You will get the amount of capital reserve. If all shares are reissued. If less shares are reissued, then you have to use the formula. If less shares are reissued, then you have to use this formula. The total amount of forfeited upon number of shares forfeited into number of shares reissued minus the shares forfeited amount, which was debited in your share forfeiture entry. So these are the two ways to get the capital reserve amount. Now let's see the question. That VABC Limited forfeited 300 equity shares issued at premium of 5, right? Premium of 5, oh my god, for non-payment of allotment 8. है ना, allotment payment नहीं हुई जिसमें premium है. Okay. The first call is of 2 rupees per share and the final call is of 3. Out of these 200 shares were reissued for 14 per share. So you are issuing at more, it's premium. You are issuing at more, it is premium. So application money we have received, allotment money we haven't. Okay. ठीक है जी. 5 first call and final call. Okay. Let's pass the entry. Firstly, you're going to pass the entry for sure forfeiture that we have called up. How much have we called up? We haven't received premium. So that means we have called up 10. So share capital to 300 into 10. Right? SPR we haven't received. So 300 into 5. Okay. So final call also. Acha, we have made. ही अलॉटमेंट मनी फॉर नॉन पेमेंट ऑफ, अच्छा कुछ भी पे नहीं किया है, सब कुछ कॉल तो हो गया. Oh my god. So सब कुछ कॉल हो गया. 300 into 10 is called up. SPR is unpaid. Only one thing is paid, application, that you're going to mention in sure forfeiture. Allotment is unpaid. First call is unpaid. Second call is unpaid. Then you have reissued 200 equity shares at premium. So bank debit to share capital to SPR. 200 into 14. 200 into 10. 200 into 4. Now, what money we should transfer to capital reserve is 600, right? But this was of 300 shares. Forfeiture is of 300 shares. Reissue is of 200 shares, right? So we are going to transfer the money on in capital reserve on the basis of 200 shares only, na. So this 600 we got by 300 into 2, but we can transfer only on the basis of 200. So 200 into 2 will be transferred here, which is 400. Or you can use the formula, you'll get the same answer, right? Next is forfeiture of shares under pro rata. So now you have to do the question where everything is together, right? In some questions, what you are going to see that there will be categories where you are going to get the questions of shareholders being not paying the money or paying the money advance earlier. So in those kinds of questions, you might see that sometimes the number of allotted shares is given, sometimes the number of applied shares is given. But for doing pro rata, we need both. So how to find applied shares? This is the formula, right? How to find allotted shares? This is the formula, right? So calculate total application money by, of course, application into number of shares applied, right? So this is how you are going to find the amount. Okay, ji. So Radhe Sham Limited applied for 4,000 shares, 10 each at premium of 2.50. He was allotted 2,000 shares. Okay. After being paid application, and an application of 3, he did not pay allotment, right? He did not pay allotment of 4.50, which was of 2.50. He did not pay allotment, and on his subsequent failure, है ना, his subsequent failure to uh, pay the first call, his shares were forfeited. These shares are reissued at 8. Forfeiture and reissue entries we have to pass. So forfeiture entries passed with called up. How much is called up? 3 and 5 and 7, and this is premium. So let's pass the entry that there are 2,000 shares and we are forfeiting them, right? And there also is a premium. So that is here. Premium कितने का है? 2.5. Yes. Okay. So sure, forfeiture is what we have received, but there is pro rata also, na? Pro rata also. So 4,000, 2,000, 4,000 and 2,000. Let's do pro rata. Let's do pro rata that how much we have. Sometimes we have received extra also. So 4,000 pay on application we have received 12,000. But we wanted how much? We wanted how much? We wanted only 9,000. So 3,000 was the excess. Then we thought that let's adjust this money on the next call. Let's adjust this on the next call. Oh, 2 it is, right? So 6 was required. Excess is 6. So then let's see how much is required on allotment. On allotment, we need 4.5. And if you include the premium, if you include the premium. So 9,000 is required. 6,000 we have already received. So only 3,000 is arrear on allotment. That's why you have mentioned 3,000 here, right? 3,000 is only remaining. Okay. So that we got from working notes. On first call, full amount is unpaid. Then you are reissuing the shares. These shares were reissued on 8 per share. So bank debit, share forfeited debit to share capital. That in we expected 20,000, but we got 16 shares forfeited 4,000. Take the difference, and you're going to get the capital reserve. 10,000 minus 4,000 gives you capital reserve of 6,000. So this is how questions of share forfeiture and your reissue are done. Now, conceptual part, all the conceptual parts we have finished in this class. We are going to keep our class super soon in the next week on just the questions of this chapter, right? On just and only just the questions of this chapter, right? If you want to know about any upcoming batch, we have an upcoming batch which starts from 9th of December, right? This is going to be a full crash course, a super fast crash course for all the students, those who haven't started studying or those who just want a revision or those who just want to revise all the topics from beginning. So this is like for all kinds of students, right? So what features you're going to get in this batch? You're going to get live classes by master teachers, instant doubt solving by master teachers in the class, handwritten notes by master teachers. Also, you are going to get a crash course, CUET crash course with this. This will be given after boards, right? So complete CUET preparation with 16 part test, 12 full test, 8 part test, 8 mock test. What subjects will be covered in this? Accounts, VST, Eco, Maths, right? In CUET preparation, you're going to get accounts, VST, Eco, mental numerical ability, English, GK, and affairs. These are the amazing teachers who are going to teach you. You all can see the experiences, the degrees, and how many results they have already created. So, best teachers we are going to provide you all. These are the champions who have performed amazingly and made us proud from the past years, right? So if you all are interested to join in, you just have to click in the link in description. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for listening. This much only we are going to cover for today. Bye bye. Take care of yourselves. I will be seeing you all in the next class with the next important